Okay, YouTubers, this is a quick video on a couple of updates in replacement of the front mirror cover for a 2014 F-Type, and in addition, a little bit of an update on replacement of the roll bar cover. So basically, we started with something like that, and we end up with something like that. The primary reason that I'm sharing this video with you is because there's a few things lacking on the instructions on both replacements, so I wanted to make sure that everyone was trying to do this replacement knew a few of the challenges, and hopefully this will help. So first, on the mirrors, the primary thing here on the mirror cover is you have to pop the mirror out, and if you notice, there is a little bit of goo right here, and that's what I wanted to kind of bring up. Basically, when you replace the mirror, as you can see, what I've done is I've moved the mirror into its innermost position here so that you can get in behind here. So for me, I have relatively small fingers, but if you notice, even I am having trouble with this. And what ends up happening, from what I've been reading, is people who are trying to lever this with their hands, as you can see, your point of contact is right out on that mirror edge, and that's a problem. So when you put force like this, it'll crack the mirror. So one of the things that I've come across, just to explain something, there was another YouTube video out there on a different type of Jag, but I did not see anything relating to the F-Type. The mirror design is slightly different, but the instructions are fairly similar. Just keep in mind, approximately right in the middle of this mirror is a circular disc that the mirror mounts to, and that's what the motor is controlled by. So the primary thing that you want to do is, the tool that you want to get is something that makes contact on the back side of the mirror about here, not on the edge, but about here, because that's the edge of that circle. So coming back behind, just be sure you're not prying right on the edge here. Try to pry from here. So any tool that you can find that has a little bit of a curve to it, kind of scoops in behind the mirror backing, that would be a safer way to replace that. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware on that. Secondly, as opposed to the YouTube video from before, this mirror has two electronic connections to it that do not come off. They are soldered to the mirror on the back, so don't try to force those off. Second is, this mirror has two plastic tabs that fit into two slots. Both of the tabs are kind of located over here on this side of the mirror, and I think those are just to give the mirror proper glide positioning. So once you are going to put the mirror back on, and I should have videoed this before I did, those two plastic curved tabs need to be gently repositioned back into their slots. So you'll need to attach the mirror from the inside first and then pop it to the circle. So I just wanted to, again, make sure that was a little different than the prior video, so providing a little bit of support on you there. Final thing, if you notice, there's a groove right here. So when we put in the this cover here, I thought that this just basically wasn't a flush fit, and we would possibly have to sand this out or basically retrofit. But looking at the prior cover, very much a similar type of gap, so that's up to you, but just wanted to just let you know that that was the experience on both sides, and might be different for yours, but it looked very similar for my original red covers to these here. When prying, the primary thing that we ran into is, while you're trying to use a pry tool, you're going to notice there was just a very, very little bit of scuffing that went on here, and I was as gentle as I possibly could be, but unfortunately the cap working from this side over, we did get a little bit of pressure, and just wanted to make sure, again, try to be careful there. Okay, moving on over here to the replacement of the covers. First thing I wanted to make sure that you're aware of is, this is the cover for the far side that I'm covering right now, but notice that the cover has a gap right there. Now that gap is designed to take the fitting for a windscreen. And so when you buy the new cover, it is going to come with a gap. And if you don't have a windscreen, you are going to have a gap. So just want to make sure if you buy new covers, you might want to think about going ahead and picking up the windscreen simultaneously. So that was something I just wanted to make sure. Now over here on the instructions, so there were a couple of things on the Jag instructions wanted to make sure that you're aware of. So on number 10, and then you go to the next step, number 11. So there was a little bit of lacking information here, and I wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. So as you try to lift, if you go to step 9, which, let's see if I can find that real quick. Yeah. So on step 9, it is illustrating remove the lugs, which here they are. You can see they're somewhat lengthy. And then if we come back over here, it's basically giving some indication of pushing these two toward each other. What we found in reality, and that's the reason I wanted to point this out, is here is the, as you can see, here's the roll bar pulled off. But if you notice, there's a tab on the front and on the back. And if you notice over here, there is no indication of such a tab. So what's happening is the tab is locking underneath here on this side and underneath here on the other side. So when you're lifting, you think you're free and clear because you've removed all the bolts. But what's happening is you do have the tab still connected underneath the deck on both sides. So basically what we have found is lift, and it will basically bring this deck ever so slightly up. But basically what you're trying to do, and I'm sorry for the video here guys, but doing the best I can, is you want to lift this up to the point that you can see that tab tooth on the front and again on the back here. And you want to be able to just lift this up just enough that you can get some pressure on that with a screwdriver. Just basically press that tab slightly inward so that it'll pop up. Because obviously that tooth right now, as you can see, is connected and is keeping you from lifting this up, and that's just obviously trying to secure the fit to the deck. So just wanted to make sure that wasn't terribly clear in the instructions, so I thought that might help. Second thing is prying off the actual cover. So I did come across something there too, so I figured I would share that. So the primary thing on the removal of the cover is if we go back over, let's take a look back at our prior step. So this is on, so as you can see, lift up here, just be mindful. You are going to have a couple of tabs you have to deal with. And then over here, basically what this is indicating is starting here and using a pry tool and working in this direction. Okay, so that's basically what was indication. And again, very similar to the other side, you can see I've got just an ever so slightly small nick, both sides. Again, being as gentle as possible, but it did, in fact, embed a little bit of a ding on there. So just want to make sure. Not sure if that was there before, but anyway. So just, again, some cautionary tale there. But the primary thing I wanted to point out is if you notice right here, and I don't know if you can see that very well, but there is a gap. There's an actual air gap right there. So this is going to be the point in which you're going to want to start with a pry bar, prying this out. Now, what I've come across is in lieu of just prying this, across like that, in the first cover that we pulled off, it basically broke the tabs. And so if you notice, the instructions actually say, this really almost looks like you're trying to force this cover in this direction. That is not correct. It's pry here at the bottom, then pry at each tab location. That's what these are indicating. But instead of prying basically in this direction, what I found is come up. So basically, let's go over and grab this other tab that came off with no tabs broken. Is if you notice that the tab orientations, when they're sitting on the car or on the vehicle, they're going to be like this. So now you can kind of see the angle of what you're trying to pry open. So when you come in and you pry, you're basically creating separation like this. So you're prying from the base and this, and you're separating. Well, when you do that, if you notice the tab, again, sorry for the angle here, guys, but if you notice the tab, if you're putting a side separation, which is basically what you're doing when you're pressing it outward like that, you're going to break these tabs. There's just no way that they're going to, bend or flex enough for you to get the thing off. So what I've discovered is that working at this point, open this up, work with I used a very, very narrow chisel, but basically something very, very thin, just to get a little bit of spacing gap. And then what I found is, in lieu of this separation motion, is do a lifting motion. So basically what you're going to want to do is take this up. So put pressure here and try to drive the whole plate up. You see how the teeth alignment, they're basically coming up out of their connections. Whereas if you just pry in this direction, you're going to break them. But if you come up, so basically in this orientation, you're going to want to come up instead of prying out. You should be able to salvage all the teeth. As you see on this one I did, all the way around, they're all still good. That means if I ever wanted to come back, I do have to buy the other one because I did break the teeth on that per the instructions, but I just wanted to offer up, I think that's a better solution. Anyway, hope that helps, guys, and good luck.